Oh my God. All right, listen up. What secret is worth killing for again and again? Find out in No One Needs to Know, the latest electrifying thriller from New York Times bestselling author Kevin O'Brien, taking inspiration from the infamous Charles Manson murders of 1969 and the darkest urban legends of Hollywood. No One Needs to Know is a fictional tale that follows the murder of a young actress, a cult mass suicide, a cursed movie production, a relentless stalker, and two women who work in a food truck. God, I gotta read this thing. No One Needs to Know is available everywhere books are sold. Find out more at KevinO'BrienBooks.com or at KensingtonBooks.com. We're also sponsored today by Parachute. Parachute is luxury bedding that you'll use every day. It's premium quality and there are no harmful chemicals or synthetic finishes like you'll find in most other bedding, and you can shop for all of it online. Go pick out the stuff you want, select your preferred fabrics and colors, and then they show up at your front door. Go to parachutehome.com/WTF and Parachute will give you $25 off your first order when you enter WTF. That's parachutehome.com/WTF and enter WTF for $25 off at checkout. Start sleeping better today. All right, let's do the show.
Lock the gate!
All right, let's do this. How are you, what the fuckers, what the fuck buddies, what the fuckineers, what the fucksters, what the fuckaholics? Hi, I'm Marc Maron. This is my show. This is WTF. I'm perspiring in my garage. I think I fucked myself somehow. I think I did myself in. I almost died. I almost died today. Oh, I'm still trying to catch I'm serious. I almost died. You know, stay tuned for that story. God damn it. Oh, can I mention right out of the gate, Australia? I don't know what time it is there, ever. I think it's like 5, 9, 14 hours, 15 hours later than here. It doesn't matter. That's not the point. My dates in Australia, I'm going to be coming to Australia. I'll be in Sydney on Thursday, October 15th at the State Theatre. I'll be in Melbourne on Friday, October 16th at the Palace. Is it Palace? Palace? I don't know. Oh, no. I'll be in Brisbane on Saturday, October 17th at City Hall. I'm sweating right now. Tickets are on sale starting tomorrow, August 7th. Go to ticketmaster.com.au. Apparently all the tickets are on sale at the same place there. Looking forward to coming back to Australia. Been a long time. Whew, we got a pretty loaded show today. I got Jason Bateman. Had a blast with Jason Bateman, and then got a little before Jason Bateman. I will talk to the wonderful Bobcat Goldthwait and Barry Crimmins about the documentary Call Me Lucky, which is about Barry Crimmins. It's a heavy film, but it's handled with a delicate balance of funny and depth and pain. It's a hell of a documentary, that thing. So we'll talk to them about that. Oh my God, what did I do to myself? You guys, look, I couldn't even talk. I had to do phoners in Australia, and I couldn't even think properly or speak properly because I tend to be a little, not self-loathing, but self-critical, and I tend to, judge myself harshly, especially around body issues, and I've been, on the road and eating freely shoving shit into my mouth, with no sort of control or responsibility. It's I'll have a pretzel roll on the plane. I'm flying first class. I'm entitled to a pretzel roll and a cookie, and if you have ice cream, we're in the air. It's meaningless. It's erased automatically. Flying ice cream does not apply. Anyway, so I'm feeling a little doughy. I'm feeling a little shitty. And there was a time in my life, people, I don't know if you know this, where I exercised pretty regularly. I went to yoga. I used to do that every Sunday. I'd eat healthy. There was a time where I do sit-ups and core exercises and work on the ball a little bit. You know what I mean? Resistance training. I like to think I was in pretty fucking good shape on a core level, but that drifted over the last couple of years. It drifts. It gets away from you. You're like, I got to get back to that. Yeah, when I really think about it, I haven't fucking been on a regular exercise regimen in years now. It's just this fading memory that I hold on to like it was fucking yesterday. So I'm beating the shit out of myself since I got home a few days ago from touring extensively and not really being at home to plant my ass into my life. And I'm like, I got to get running again. I got to get running. And I think I talked to you guys about this before. I was running the hills around here. I was able to run these 2 massive hills in this little circle that I do. And I got to that point where I was able to do that. But so now I've just been sitting around chipping away on the fucking lozenges again. I had a guest interview today, and then it was like around 12:30, 1 o'clock, and I'm doing some other shit, getting some shit done. And then And then I'm like, I gotta run. And when you're on the fence about running, when the spirit moves you, you better get moving. You better put that spirit into some sneakers and take it outdoors and hit it. But I knew I should go to the gym because it's hot as fuck. I didn't know how hot. I didn't know it was 95. I didn't know it was like close to 100 degrees out, but the spirit wanted to run, and I was going to run with that spirit. This is not a complicated spirit. This is a very basic jogging spirit. So I'd get on my shoes. I do my stretching. I knew I should have gone to the gym, but I didn't have time. I had to be back for a thing. So I went out into the 95-degree heat to run my circle up the hills, and I haven't done it really in months. And it was a classic stubborn old guy bullshit thing to do. Just that, you know, when your dad says, no, fuck it, we're driving. Or when the pilot says, I don't care, I got my own plane. This storm means nothing. It was one of those dumb, prideful bullshit things to do as a guy that's 51 years old. So I hit the hills, made the first one, ran it. Then I felt a weird numbness in my chest that spread through my arms. A sort of excited numbness. I imagine excited numbness is what is the first symptom before the lights go out indefinitely. So I felt this weird excited numbness in my arms, and I'm like, I've kind of felt that before. And I keep running, and I'm like, whoa, I have a hard time catching my breath. And then, like, getting a little dizzy, and I'm like, all right, dude, you're not failing if you walk a bit. And I'm like, yeah, but I am. So I keep running, and then I got no choice to walk because my legs have the excited numbness. So now I've got excited numbness in all my limbs that's coming and going, and I'm like, this is fucked up. But I stayed on it. I didn't run, but I walked the whole way. And I had to sit down twice, and I was sweating, and I thought the lights were going out, man. I texted my girl. I said, hey, man, I'm in trouble. And she called right away. She said, I'm at Whole Foods. Is there anything I can get you that'll help you? I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to make it home. I just wanted to give you a heads up. I might not make it till later, and it's been fun. So I make it home, barely, sit on the couch, and I just start sweating. I got a headache. I can't move. I start chugging water. I'm like, I think I need potassium. I start eating a banana, but it's no good. It's not ripe yet. It tastes bad. I ate yogurt because I looked up potassium, and they said that has it in it. I decided I needed potassium. I ate yogurt. I ate cantaloupe. I just potassiumed out. Then Sarah came over. She's like, you need salt. Here's some olives. I'm like, there's no way I'm eating post-run olives. But it took me like an hour to get my shit together. Cold compresses. I think I had a little heat stroke because I was stupid. In my defense, I did do the entire circle. Did not run it, but I think I laid some pretty good muscle memory groundwork for the future. But the lesson I learned is, dude, you're old. You're not that old, but you're too old to be running in 100-degree heat if you're not in the fucking Marines. Jesus Christ, almost died. Couldn't even talk to the guy on the phone in Australia. They could barely put words together. We're sponsored today by the new Hulu show, Difficult People, from executive producer Amy Poehler. It's a new original comedy series on Hulu. Difficult People stars Billy Eichner from the Emmy-nominated Billy on the Street and Julie Klausner from Ugly Americans and the How Was Your Week podcast. Maybe even heard Julie right here on this show. It's an unapologetic story that TV Guide calls beyond laugh out loud very funny. Billy and Julie play best friends and aspiring comedians who seek fame and acceptance in the cutthroat New York comedy scene. Familiar with it? They have no filter, no shame, and can't help but rub everybody the wrong way. Know that one. From yelling at small children to crashing A-list parties, Billy and Julie are oblivious to the world around them, but they mean well. It's a funny show and a funny cast. And come on, man, has Amy Poehler ever led you astray? I do not think so. Difficult People also stars Gabourey Sidibe, James Urbaniak, and Andrea Martin. And there are plenty of guest stars like Seth Meyers, Fred Armisen, Kate McKinnon, Martin Short, Amy Sedaris, and more. The first episode of Difficult People is available now, and watch new episodes every Wednesday on Hulu. Gabourey Sidibe. Nailed it. Let us now go to my conversation with Barry Crimmins and Bobcat Goldthwait about Bobby's documentary, Call Me Lucky, which is playing in New York, D.C., L.A., and elsewhere this weekend. It opens in other locations throughout August. You can go to callmeluckymovie.com for theaters. And, I love these guys, and I've known them a long time. So listen to us talk. I had some weird memory, that I can't get out of my head, of that back room at Stitches when you used to have your night at Stitches. Mm-hmm. What was it? What night was yours? Sundays?
Well, I was Thursdays, half the Thursdays and half the Saturdays. So I was there on Thursday nights, and then
you'd hold court in that little fucking ticket booth that was backstage.
Yeah.
So I'm in there, and you're talking about racism and Hollywood. I don't know what the hell it was, and I was shit faced, and I'd gotten it in my mind, but somehow or another, because Danny DeVito was so short that he was being used, and it was similar to what you were talking about with racism, and I just remember at some point Barry just goes, I don't know what the hell's going on. Maron says Danny DeVito is racism, and then I don't know where the conversation how that happened. Like I just remember you it registered with you, but it made no sense. I don't think it did make sense. But in my mind, it kind of makes a little sense.
Yeah.
That he was being exploited.
Well, it's bigotry.
We have to stop.
Right, it's bigotry because he's short.
We have to stop the exploitation of Danny DeVito.
Well, right, the $1 million.
I'm all for that.
Barry Crimmins, Bobcat Goldthwait. Both people I've had on this show. I think, Bobby, I've had you on several times.
Yes.
Is that true?
Many times.
Yeah. And Barry I've had on once, but it was a monumental event.
Yes, thank you.
During that conversation, I remember we had a good talk. It was very intense, and then he came with me to the club, and he did some comedy.
Yeah,
and then we hung out. That was great.
I had no plan.
Yeah,
I had no plan to talk about what I talked about, but that's you. You get.
But you had been talking about it.
Yeah, no, I'm very comfortable talking about the fact that I'm a rape survivor because I didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
Part of me feeling that Barry would be comfortable in making a documentary was me listening to him on your show.
And I
got to say, that was a game changer doing that interview with you, and thanks, man.
You're welcome.
It did. And I'll tell you, I heard from a lot of people, some of whom, I was able to provide some assistance for, and that helps them continue
is that true?
Healing. Yeah. We go back and forth. They would say, nothing like that happened. It's amazing how people really don't. You think everyone exaggerates. Most of the time I find that they start off sort of, nothing like you went through. And then they tell you this heartbreaking story, and you go, look, man, we got a few things to chip away at here.
But the power it has to help people in terms of a thing that most people carry with them as a secret, or they're ashamed of, or they don't know how to speak about, it's pretty profound.
And you shouldn't, and that's the whole thing. That's why I'm really, people can get too strident about language pretty easily, but when someone says, you admitted you were raped, I disclose, I didn't admit. That makes me complicit. And then one of the big tricks, particularly with child sexual abuse, or, she was asking for it mentality, is that you are somehow complicit in these crimes that are done against you. And you wouldn't say you admitted getting hit by a hit-and-run driver or held up at gunpoint, and it's the same thing. You're a crime victim. That's
true. Yeah, changing the language.
Yeah.
But when you made the movie, Bob, you must have the awareness that you were going to have to balance, the story of his rape and also the humanity of his comedy.
Right.
I mean, what was the trickiest part of making the movie that?
There was. Yeah, I wanted to lay a bunch of pipe so people knew who Barry was and what he meant in the comedy world. But I also wanted to kind of tonally put some things in there so it wouldn't be such a big, jolt when we start discussing his rape. So it was very hard, but as soon as I say to him, I go, it's really hard making this movie.
Yeah.
Barry's like, really?
Yeah.
Really?
I'm awful worried about you.
Yeah, I'm really, it's really killing me.
He's been through absolutely.
I think it was about as hard as, when Barry disclosed on stage in Boston, it was during a show, and Steve Sweeney was going on, and Steve's really a funny guy, and a guy that influenced me a lot, but was like kind of insisting on closing.
Yeah.
And Barry
said, okay, go ahead.
He's about to disclose. He knows he's going to do this, and Sweeney's like going, I got to close. And he's like, okay.
Yeah, and then Sweeney got up there, and he's just going, Jesus Christ, God.
Barry Crimmins.
Damn.
Yeah. Let's hear it for Barry Crimmins again.
But that was the interesting thing about the film, too, is that these guys who I knew when I was a kid doing comedy in Boston, these are working class dudes that come from a regional sort of disposition around homosexuality, around, whatever it is.
Right.
All these guys were supportive. They were understanding that the community, came around him. They felt bad.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Yeah, I think that's basically it. I think some people skeptical or leery because they're scared of the story, you know. But,
Yeah.
But there was amazing. So I had more than enough support. Bob was, you know, one of the first people I told, and he was amazing. And, you know, it was weird. He almost went like, all right, because it's like, oh, the Crimmins mystery is a little bit solved here, you know.
Right. Finally, we know why.
Yeah, because we were trying to figure this out, you know, all this anger and, you know. Well, when he disclosed to me, it was a sense of relief. Here's a guy I've known and loved since I was 16 years old, and I was like, oh, okay, this all makes sense, you know.
And then some of the tough shots in the movie.
Yeah.
It's 10 o'clock in the morning, and Bob's going, let's get you a couple of beers. I'm going, it's 10 o'clock. I don't drink at 10, so I think you got to have a couple of beers.
Well, I mean, do you want to know the real? So when Barry tells the stories of his rape.
Yeah.
Rapes.
Yeah.
The first time he did it was like 10:30 in the morning, and it's the only time I've ever done this. I said, listen, I think we're doing this movie for the same reason, and I go, can we get Barry a beer? I don't want a beer. I go,
and then there's two beers there.
Yeah. Then I give him another beer, and I said, I need you not to tell the story. I need you to remember the story.
Uh-huh.
So, and that's the take that's in the movie.
When he goes into the basement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so...
Well, no, that was...
Yeah, not when you went into the basement,
Right,
when
no.
you told the story of it. Because when he went into the basement, we had the huge argument. I mean, a real fight. Like I didn't want him to go into the basement.
Every time there was something... And I mean, you think when you make a movie, you're an independent filmmaker...
Yeah.
You're laying your whole career on the line every time you make a movie. You might not ever get to make another movie if you fuck up. Mm-hmm. So...
But you know,
every time there was a chance that harm to me, he would see potential danger or harm to me or something good for the movie. He was for he was for me, and then I ended up, and I was for the movie.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I wasn't going to go into that. I wasn't going to go back there and allow that place to have that kind of power.
Right.
You know, I wasn't going to think about that place for so many years and have it in my head and then like be afraid to walk in there. I had to go in there as a child. I had no choice. As an adult, I can walk in there. And I also wanted to sort of demonstrate that there isn't some sort of supernatural power that these criminals have to imbue these stone walls with, evil.
Right.
It's like, it's a place I hope a lot of kids play
only
there.
Only the Catholic Church has the power.
Well, yeah, that's right. That's right. We can get there real soon.
They can imbue walls with evil quite easily.
Yeah,
just throw a stained glass window up there.
Yeah,
it's
that's
done.
Absolutely. That's right. Yes.
Yeah, the production design. It's on purpose, I think.
You know, what was great in the movie is that when you see the footage of you on TV doing those jokes, that you know what I didn't remember was they were so accessible and they were also so relevant now that they were great jokes and you were funny up there and you had a whole angle and it was all complete. You were the whole package. And then it shows you down there giving performing for the Sandinistas.
Yeah.
And that was very moving. Like the thing that I think people should know about this movie coming into it is that it's not some movie where you're like, oh my God, how are we gonna, like, like here we're talking about you being raped as a child and how you move through it, but the balance that you were able to get, Bob, with just the part of Barry that enabled him to survive and function, which was his wit and his desire to help and perform, to use comedy as a way of expressing his anger, really kind of is a great part of the movie. It kind of moves it along, and then to see Barry at this age, trudging through the winter in upstate New York is I don't think he realized how hilarious you are.
Oh yeah. Well, that whole thing. Let's just talk about that for a minute. So Goldthwait.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows I cut wood and all that, but the thing is, right before we shot, 2 months before that, I got T-boned and my knee was broken in two places.
Yeah.
So he's got me hauling a maple log up the hill.
How many beers did that take?
Yeah. Well, a maple log up the hill. And then I'm trying to split wood standing on one leg, and that knee's bad too. So I hadn't hit I hadn't hit a piece of firewood and not split it for years. Now all these people are contacting me to advise me on how to split firewood. It's like, oh, fuck yourself. I know how to split firewood.
Right.
But when I turn to Goldthwait and they say, this isn't fucking working in the movie, I was saying, okay, we're not going to see this. And of course, now it's at the top of the movie. Prick.
You just wanted to establish the character.
Yeah, no.
That is very criminal.
That is very
quickly. The fact that your life, the life that you had as a comic and the important stuff you did as an activist, but now also, being an advocate and a resource that you have been all through this since you disclosed is now, culturally, identifiable and relevant, and you're more available for yourself and for others now.
Sure.
And that's a great thing at any time.
It's unbelievable. And helping others is a way to really know. And, anybody who's in a 12-step program knows this. And when you notice the progress you made when you're helping somebody else.
Sure.
So you see where you were a while ago, and you feel fortunate for being that much further along. And I get that all the time dealing with abuse survivors.
And also you get the selflessness, the getting out of your own
getting out of your own way. Yeah. And I mean that to me is and really everyone was so worried about me when I did the child pornography investigation.
I didn't know about that. That to me was the most devastating part of the movie, is that because you looked like emaciated and like you'd been depleted, that you went down this rabbit hole, but you changed legislation.
And I mean, what I did was I changed the corporate culture at AOL. They had to get rid of that, what was going on there. They were making money. Back in those days, it cost $3 or $4 an hour to be online if you were online over 10 or 12 hours or whatever it was. And then all these guys are spending $1,000, $1,200 a month because they've never had a community. They've never, this is
pedophiles and child pornographers.
Yeah. And
people who shared those things.
Right. And so, and I'm telling AOL, and they're playing it dumb because it takes a half hour to upload one picture, and they're getting paid. So they're making $1.50 every time a picture goes up. But I'm one of the first witnesses, who saw in almost real time photographic evidence of a kid who was raped 10 minutes ago. It's terrifying, and I'm not getting, and they're playing it dumb with me. And I went back and forth with them forever, and then finally I ended up, because of my friend Lana Lawrence, they knew they were going to do this hearing in Washington, but the hearing was going to be about kids and pornography on the internet. It was like my 16-year-old son's to Playboy magazine on the internet. It's like, oh no. But if I hadn't been at the hearing, you would have heard the word child and you would have heard the word pornography, but you wouldn't have heard them in a row. Right. So I cared about the children in the pornography, and I saw it's photographic evidence of rape and sexual assault and exploitation of kids. And if you've seen it, you would never call it kiddie porn, which sounds like the Bunny Hill or something. Right. I mean, it's tough stuff. If you know what it really is, it's tough stuff. And then I've talked to so many people who know they were photographed and whatever, and they talk to me about it. It's really heartbreaking because there'll be a 50-year-old man crying, saying, "Well, it was kind of a pine cabin. The priest used to take me there, and he was kind of bald, and they think that I saw it, and they're embarrassed with me. And I go, look, man, if I saw a picture like that, and I saw a lot of pictures like that, if I saw a picture like that, all I saw were your eyes. I was trying to see, is this kid, how long does this kid have? What's going to happen to this kid? And what's going to happen to him or her? That's all you see if you're there, if you're witnessing it for the right reasons. And if you're one of the monsters is into that stuff, you would never recognize this person, particularly as an adult, that it doesn't even register with them. So, I mean, I was happy that I could at least convey that to a lot of people. But anyway, we went in, and they had a cocky lawyer from AOL who just figured he was going to, as a nightclub comic. Bring it on, shithead. Yeah. But here's the thing, Mark, and this is Washington for you. I went into that hearing, and I gave my testimony, and clearly the AOL guy had been given my testimony because his printed testimony was direct responses to my testimony they asked for in advance. Nobody gave me, the kid defending the rape kids, the advanced testimony of the other guy. So someone leaked it. Yeah, to him. Yeah. And I still, false modesty aside, kicked his ass. And by the end of that thing, like there's one thing Bob has in the movie where the guy's saying, well, Barry doesn't care about, he doesn't seem to believe parental control software works. And I go, Link, it works great if the parents aren't the rapists.
Right.
But once the parents are the rapists, it's kind of a useless thing now, isn't it? So, and you can just sort of see by the end of this thing, this guy would come in pretty cocky when he snaps at the end and tells the truth by mistake.
What do you do?
He said, well, I just want to stop you right there. We at America Online have a strict 3 strikes and you're out policy concerning child pornography. And I was like, I love baseball as much as anybody, but that's not a 3-strike offense in any fucking league, in any league. So, and when that happened, that was the KO blow. He was done.
Right.
He was done. It was like there was no backtrack. He publicly said that they would allow people to stay there who had been caught. We don't have any 4th-time offenders on child porn. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So it was over. But when he said that, if you look at him, he's a beaten man at that point. He had taken, it was like the 14th round of a 15-round fight, and they should have stopped it.
I think the other thing that makes the movie so beautiful is that, outside, just in talking about this stuff and the weight of it and talking about comedy a little bit, though, is the love that you guys have for each other for so long.
Yeah.
That, like, there was an intimacy there, around, your trust of Bob.
Sure.
And Bob's, knowledge of you and his trust of you and also, the line, that which you could operate at, not crossing each other's lines, but then also learning new territory in terms of, what you could achieve together. And it was a beautiful thing.
A couple things there. Bob was, he was so protective and thoughtful towards me. I trusted him with my life, and then I stepped back. It was hard not to say, your friends and these different people are talking about you all day, and I was never there because I didn't want to skew anybody. Tell them the truth. And so I had to, it took some self-control to not ask a bunch of questions, but then I got used to it. But I trusted Bob. Yeah. And it was a very wise investment on my part, and he made a beautiful movie. And what I love about the movie, and Bob said some stuff to me early on that just came, he said, look, I don't want it to be one of those documentaries where 38 people are sitting in front of the same bookcase. Yeah. And they made this beautiful cinema, Bradley Stonecipher, the cinematographer, did amazing work, and Jeff Stryker, the editor, did amazing, and Bob pulled the whole thing together, and the whole crew was tremendous, and they were so it was easy on one level, but on other levels it was sort of like, well, I wonder what's going on in there. Yeah, it was like being outside of the maternity room for a year.
Robin was my best friend.
Yeah.
So the movie.
Yeah, he got hit with a meteor in the middle of the thing. Emotional.
Yeah.
And it sounds corny, but I honestly was like, oh, okay, well, what would he want? I assumed, well, he'd want me to finish this movie. So I spent, but it was just insane. The year was just, divorce and
loss.
Break up with a girlfriend, decorating the Christmas tree, and my best friend kills himself. But at least I had a baby rape documentary to work on 10 to 12 hours a day to cheer me up.
And I will say this. Go ahead.
I knew he was going to work his way through, but I knew, because he's such a hard worker, that I knew that even though this is a tough story to tell and so on, that I was glad he had it to tell, because I knew when I heard he was getting back to work that was the beginning of the path to, getting through the grief, the incredible grief, but the courage he showed and the professionalism to get off that deck and get it done, so that we ended up at Sundance. Fucking unbelievable.
And you know why you were both able to do this thing? Because you're fucking comics.
Yeah, right.
Think about it.
Truly.
I mean, you know what I mean? That's what we do.
Yeah.
Oh, watch me shut my emotions off.
Yeah.
It'll be the most entertaining emotional shutdown you'll ever see.
Yeah, I think it's my personal best.
Yeah.
I think it really is. Yeah, I mean,
it's an amazing, unique movie, and I'm happy you guys are seeing such success with it.
Thanks. Can I say something really quick? You know, and you can cut this out if you want, but, you know, you're kind enough to have me direct your new special, and I've seen you do stand-up over the years, but it was really great. What I loved about the specials is that you really brought it. I mean, I hope you're happy with your performances because you were really on that night. Like, you were really dialed in.
Well, it was one of those times
and you
where
can't say that, so I want to say that.
I appreciate it.
And I can say he called me up and was enthused, and San Maron just absolutely
I think my favorite moment was when I was laughing and I forgot to call cameras. I'm like, hey, dum-dum, you're directing. Stop watching the show.
Well, thank you, man.
I think it came up great.
Thanks for coming by, fellas.
Well, it's an honor to be on the show again.
Yeah.
So relatively soon.
And I'm glad
it's an honor to be on it with this guy and both you two.
Yeah.
And I know you guys have been working on stuff together. It's all.
We're okay.
It's all pretty cool.
We're okay.
Yeah, it's all pretty great, man.
We're doing okay.
This seems like the time for an untimely death.
Yeah.
Oh, you.
Okay, and that was
gee, and I guess who that's going to be.
That's when the space debris landed on the garage.
Took
The
out
last
the three of them.
Skyland.
All right, thanks, guys. Fine balance between brutal, dark, emotionally devastating, and funny. Barry Crimmins lives in that, and Bobcat Goldthwait understands that. And it's a pretty amazing movie. Again, Call Me Lucky is playing in New York and DC and LA and other places this weekend, and it's opening in locations throughout August, and all around the country. Hopefully, you can go to callmeluckymovie.com for theaters. It was great to talk to those guys. Heavy shit, but funny shit. Surviving, man. Surviving and learning, moving through and helping, and also maybe driving yourself a little crazy. I got a box of Nature Box snacks the other day sent right to my door. I don't know if you have ever experienced getting snacks delivered right to your house, but it's pretty amazing, people. They sent me some Santa Fe corn sticks. Those are gone. And they sent some plantain chips. Also gone. You know what? I've still actually got Honey Dijon pretzels and the Asiago and cheddar crisps. Those I still have. The jalapeno cheddar popcorn is really hot. So I got to go easy on that because, comes back around. You know what I'm saying? But I'll tell you, these came at a good time too because my brother left, so I know I'll have them for a little while. All bets are off when he's around. He was in town for 2 days and, that all the cereal was gone. I didn't even have milk. That's another story. Look, here's the point. You're going to be tempted to snack, and Nature Box says to give into that temptation, but in a smart way that makes you feel great. I got 5 things, but Nature Box has over 100 ridiculously delicious snacks to choose from that get delivered directly to your doorstep. And right now you can enjoy your first box of Nature Box snacks for free, but only at naturebox.com/WTF and only if you act fast. So head to naturebox.com/WTF right now to unbox a world of taste and possibility. I'm experimenting with new radio deliveries. Unbox a world of taste and possibility. Nature Box. It's a little serious for snacks. Anyway, Jason Bateman. I've been very impressed with Jason's Bateman, both of them, the two of them. I've been very impressed with Jason's work in movies lately, and he's very funny. He's a great straight man. But I always wondered what kind of dude he was, and I actually reached out to him years ago at a phone number I don't even know if it exists. I talked to him about it. I'm not going to spoil anything. I had a great time talking to Jason Bateman, so now why don't you enjoy us? Oh, and before you enjoy us, although that was a great segue, Jason is in the new movie The Gift, which is in theaters tomorrow, August 7th. Now, please enjoy Jason Bateman and myself. Was that grammatically correct? All right, don't just do it.
Weasel and I were buddies for a while. We all went to school together. I don't know if I told you this.
No.
We went to school together in 8th grade, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
To a
Valley Professional School, which was a school where If you are professional,
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
if you're pulling down a lot of auditions, you're going to want to free up your afternoon, right? So these guys take your probably $30,000 a year. I don't even remember what it was because I was a
It was
kid,
all
but-
actors and celebrity kids?
Yeah, Janet Jackson was there. I
Really?
don't know what kind of audition
So
she
how
was
old
doing,
were you
but
at that point?
This is 8th grade, so
Okay.
I'm 14.
Yeah.
And so school is 9 to 12.
Right.
So you can go home and bang out your sides, you know, and then, you know, get on a bus like I did with a skateboard
Right.
and go down to Hollywood and do your audition.
Uh-huh. So who else? It was
That
Janet
lasted a
Jackson
year.
and Dweezil? Oh, year.
1 year. I don't there were a couple of Olympic skaters
Sure.
there.
Wait,
Yeah.
'cause what they had to-
they need to, you know, they
skate.
got to get out there on the ice.
Yeah.
You know, and they can't
Well,
be
how
after
many kids
4.
in this school? Like,
You know, 20.
oh my God. So it was a racket.
It was in a mini mall on Sherman Way and like, you know, Vineland.
That was someone's big idea.
Yeah, it was a racket.
For-
Definitely
for-
not an accredited institution.
Did you do any work? Mm-mm. But like,
No, I didn't.
But you like basically grew up in show business.
I started when I was 10, and I did a lot of television work.
Well, where'd you
television.
come from? How'd that happen? Where'd you?
I was born in Rye, New York. Dad,
Westchester, right?
Yeah,
Kinda?
yeah. Dad was a writer, director, producer, and he
In New York?
in New York, yes, and then Boston. We were there from when I was 2 till I was 4.
What did he do? Like what?
I don't know. It's a little mysterious. But needless to say, we had to keep moving around. So we then went to Salt Lake City, which could
Salt
throw you,
Lake?
that throws you off the scent a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Like, what
Why-
kind of production's happening there? There was some post production
In Salt Lake?
It was like running a film lab.
You weren't Mormons.
No, Grandma and Grandpa were.
Oh, they were. So there was actual connection.
on Dad's side, I think, but I don't remember any of that.
How old?
This is from 4 to 7.
And how do you get out here? How does that happen?
Again, another one of Dad's moves to another better opportunity.
Yeah.
I think again in post production, perhaps. I don't know, but and my mom was a stewardess for Pan Am, so her situation was a bit more fluid. You know, her
Yeah.
job was to travel, so
Right.
she'd what would they call it? Deadhead to wherever her
Oh,
base
right,
was,
right.
and then fly.
Yeah. When
All
Pan
over
Am
the
was an
world.
airline.
Yeah.
It's over.
It's over, but before it was over, we did a ton of traveling before I was old enough to really appreciate it.
Europe
So,
and everything?
not so much Europe, but more Asia. I think they were more, Pan Am had Asia down.
Uh-huh.
So I did a lot of trips to, you know, Hong Kong and Japan, and it was an inconvenience. It was, you know, they don't have, my buddies aren't here. My
Right.
skateboard's not
Sure,
here.
you were like, just imagine your kids going on that trip now and what your parents must have gone through.
Yeah, where's Nick Jr., Dad? I'm not seeing Nick Jr. anywhere on the dial here.
And Justine's older than you?
Yeah, 3 years.
And there's just two of you.
There's just the two from this marriage.
Oh, okay.
There are 2 boys from the last marriage that Dad had.
Before
and
you?
After me.
Okay.
And 1 boy from the marriage that preceded.
So
Dad,
he came
was-
in with a kid? So you had
Came in with a kid and left with 2.
Uh-huh. He's not around anymore?
Dad's still here.
Oh,
He's up north, though. He's in Oregon.
what's he doing up there?
Or Washington.
Is it unclear? Or?
It's unclear. I have not been there yet, but he hasn't been here either. So
Really? Is
Worry.
it? How long has it been this the friction?
there's no friction. We kind of had a very atypical upbringing, my sister and I, in that since Dad was kind of this somewhat of a bohemian contributor to the arts.
But unclear what that was.
Unclear what
You've
that
not
was.
seen any of his work.
I smelt a lot of development fluid in the basement. And Mom was, you know, flying around the world for Pan Am.
Yeah.
We had Christmas on the 23rd often, and Thanksgiving on the 15th.
Okay.
And, you know, and then Justine and I started acting, and so there wasn't anything very traditional about the way in which we were brought up. And consequently, the dynamic between children and parents was not traditional. Therefore, there isn't that obligatory draw to call every Sunday, or visit where you live now, or let's all get together for Christmas.
So you're saying your parents were self-involved?
I don't know if it's so much that. I mean, if I'm to look at it half full, I would say that they weren't hamstrung by the traditional familial obligations.
That's a diplomatic, because I have the same experience. Whereas I don't. I feel like my parents are people I grew up with. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like there was this sort of like this intrinsic kind of like, like nurturing going on. I just feel like yeah, they were these troubled or complicated people that were kids when they had me, and we all grew up together, and now we're kind of friends.
Do you remember that transition that every kid makes where your parents become human and you stop that sort of that deferential dynamic where mom and dad are that's where I'm going, that's where I want to go, I want to be just as good as dad or just as good as mom, and you eventually get old enough or smart enough or enlightened or insightful enough to see that they're just as flawed as you are.
Yeah, and I don't want to go there at all. I'd rather
not. Or I'm going to cherry pick the things that I want to emulate.
I got to trim that a little bit.
It's a heartbreaking and hilarious transition that I think every kid goes through.
Sure, but I think that usually they go through it when they're 40. And they don't know what the fuck's wrong with them.
Yeah.
In that way where, I
don't know. I don't know. What is the ideal age and circumstance to go through that sort of curtain pulling?
Well, I think that what happens if parents are good is that they allow you to sort of detach and have your own space in a way that's still kind of like, we still love you, and you sort of kind of gradually go into that, and as you sort of find your own identity. But I think if your parents are needy or they're actually emotionally detached, you're sort of on your own. And then usually that realization comes with a good heaping of like, well, fuck them, fuck that.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't know what, I like the idea of cherry picking. I mean, it seems a little easier than just that. Because, you end up having those elements. Your parents are like, oh, God, how'd I get that one?
Right. And by definition, you have it in yourself, right?
Yeah.
Because you can see it.
Well, yeah, because they wired you, they put the board in. Do you have those things?
Oh yeah, I'm loaded with all the things that I think we're all loaded with the things that we don't want from our parents.
Yeah.
And our ability to become a quality human being is our ability to kind of navigate and kind of neutralize those elements, right? Because they're there, they're in you, they're literally in your DNA.
So what makes us good people is the ongoing struggle to destroy our parents' influence,
to tamp down the remnants of your parents, I suppose, and accentuate the parts that you do like.
But do you, so you talk to your dad?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And your mom's still around?
Yeah. So talk to them both, but not in the traditional frequency.
Like once a week, we have a call.
We don't do that.
No.
Yeah, it's once a month.
Sure.
And it's and sometimes it's email.
Yeah.
It's not forced, and I will give them that. It's a great thing that they don't jam you.
Yeah, but they have a relationship with your kids and stuff?
No.
Oh.
That's
not letting that happen.
They don't go that far. Although my mom's a little bit better than my dad, but I'll attribute that to her being in the same state.
Oh, she's here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't have kids, so I don't have that. But it's an odd thing, but it's not a choice. You're like, no, they're not. They're staying away.
I'm not keeping them away, and they're not making an effort to stay away. It's just more like, hey, if we met going down the street, would we hang out? Now, I don't know if that's a relationship between me and my parents. I'd say that's more, I think my sister and I have that really kind of healthy relationship where it's like, hey man, we don't have to be every day, every week, every month, every holiday just because we're brother, sister. It's like, well, let's earn the relationship that adults should or could have. That is not you're not handcuffed because of the blood.
But you gotta earn it. You get along with her then.
Yeah.
She has a relationship with her kids.
Ish. Yeah. And my good. Ish with theirs.
So they got cousins.
They got cousins.
Where's
I'm
she
not
live?
sure they know their names, but they officially do have cousins, yes.
Where is she though?
She's about a mile from my house. No. I hope they don't listen to this. I could be a better uncle, brother, son. Mark, you've got it. You've done it. You've pulled it out.
That was
very
easy.
Early in this interview.
Well, but it wasn't easy being you, right?
There have been some challenging moments, but I think I'm weathering it pretty well. I don't know if you ever really know whether you're really happy or not, because you honestly cannot compare it to anybody else. Like, wouldn't it be great to be able to get into just anybody's mind?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter whether they're sick or healthy,
right,
or happy or sad. Just to get a little bit of perspective about, well, I might be like euphoric.
Right, compared to everyone else.
Right. Everybody might just beat to shit.
Inside. Yeah.
Or I might be the darkest cloud kind of.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Well,
I think it's all about how you interpret your daily weather and your traffic, right?
I think so. But I think there is a way to sort of like, you can assess peace of mind.
Yes.
You can assess like, how much fear you're living in.
Yeah.
How much anger you have.
Yeah, that I think I'm really honest with myself about. I bet you I'm a real happy camper.
Yeah, you seem good. I mean, I think the weird thing was like years ago when I first started this show, I think Janine Garofalo.
Love her.
Yeah, she said, you got to get Bateman on. You got to call
Really?
him. Yeah. He said, you got to call him. And she gave me some weird toll-free number. And
Is it 1-800-BLOWJOB?
yeah. Was that the wrong number?
Yeah, I've discontinued that. I was getting like really weird fucking calls.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me.
JasonBateman.com was a gay porn hub.
It was?
Hub.
Really?
For a while. Until I had to buy it. One of the gay writers on a show I was doing, he said, "Hey man, can I talk to you for a second?" And he said, my partner and I were doing a little surfing the other day. And so he told me about this, and I said, are you lying? He said, no. He said, check it out. So I went there, and it is not a site. It's a hub from which it's like going to the Tom Bradley terminal. Sure. You can go anywhere in the gay world from JasonBateman.com.
Are there pictures of you? Or what?
No, I think it was just like, well, what name would really resonate with our gay community?
Do you have a lot of gay following?
I think I might.
You must. They must love you.
That's what this is telling me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we snatched that up. And
how much did you have to pay to
I don't
not
remember.
be a gay hub?
I don't remember. I seem to remember it being pretty affordable. Otherwise,
that's good.
Yeah.
But Garofalo gave me this number, and I called it because it was like at the beginning, and I wanted to get guests, and there was I don't remember what it was, but I left this message. Hey man. Jason, it's Marc Maron, and I think I don't know if you're still with Dave Becky, but at that time I was with Dave Becky.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get through to him, and then at some point I just
he was representing you. You could not get a hold of him.
Very difficult. But I'm no longer with him, but we're okay. Him and I are fine. We'll get to a point. I mean, you must know, you've been in the business a while, where if you're not really doing anything, they don't know what to do.
Right.
And
it's don't get me started. Yeah, you got to help them help you.
Oh, they have no idea. And if they don't have any traction with you, you're not a bargaining chip. You're like, can you do me a favor? Like you're that guy. Like he'd have big clients, and I know what happened was like, hey, you got Louis for that thing. You think Maron? You got anything for Maron?
Right. Like it's crazy. I
don't like knowing about it.
Yeah, but it's pretty common sense. It's like the market dictates whether you're going to get hired.
Sure.
Like, an agent can't get you hired. I don't want to belittle what an agent does, but you could be the best agent in the world, but it's not about advocacy, because if it was, our mothers would be our best agents,
sure.
Right? It's not about picking up the phone and saying, hey, Marc Maron's fantastic. You got to hire. That doesn't mean shit. So it doesn't matter really what agent you're with. It's if the marketplace wants you, if you're hot, if you're relevant, or yada yada.
If they have something to work with.
Right.
If they're like, we can run money through this guy.
Yes, you have to give them the bullets to fire. Which means you need a job before they can get you one. It's
that's right. And and the problem is if you don't have that, and you've been with them a long time, it becomes like this weird marriage. Like you're sort of like, well, I don't know what to do, but I don't want to be an asshole.
I can't stop representing him. I can't kick him out of here.
Yeah.
So they just stop calling.
They just stop calling, and they wait. Maybe something will pop for that guy. And
they try to get you to fire yourself. They try to get you to call them and say, hey man, I got to make a choice.
We know
Becky, I got to move on.
Right.
And then they kind of have to say, whoa, really? And then they got to spend 10 minutes trying to talk you out of it, but not too emphatically. And then you leave, and then they're like,
thank God. Thank God. Well, I was with him since the beginning. I mean, I was with him like for 20 years. So like I knew him. That's the weird thing that you realize about Hollywood after a while is that they all come up together. You know, you got your agents, you got your managers, you got your publicists, you got your talent. And generationally, they sort of like come up and they make it and they don't make it. And if they make it with their guys, then they have a lot of, whatever.
But there's a bit more of a natural ascension, a sort of a perpetual, an escalator almost in a lot of the other channels and lanes.
Mm-hmm.
In acting, like there isn't, if you put in 35 years, you don't get that sort of entitlement of a raise, a promotion, job security.
Yeah.
No, it actually works against you.
It's terrifying.
Oh, we know him now. We're tired of that.
Sure,
we want somebody with no experience whatsoever.
Yeah,
somebody fresh.
Yeah, somebody no one knows.
Yeah,
yeah. And
you mean a rookie? Right. In any other profession, it's a negative.
Well, but you've been in it since you were 10.
Yeah.
So how does that start? Like, I've talked to a couple of actors who have been doing it that long.
Yeah.
And, I know that it's tricky that once you sort of play out of the young roles, then you get that weird, like, what
is he now?
I just talked to Jason Segel the other day.
Yeah.
But you were really young. So how's that start? Your parents?
Well, not
You looking at your phone down there?
Not really. No.
Okay.
Play with a cord. Playing with my penis.
Oh, okay.
Give me some
That's never
privacy.
happened. You want me to turn around?
I'll bet it has. I'll bet it has. You do night sessions in here?
Not since JasonBateman.com closed down.
So what happened? So Dad, as I said, was a writer, director, producer, and so his passion was movies, and so he would take.
You saw nothing. You've seen none of your father's work.
No. Well, yeah, he did. He made one. But he knew about them. He knew what it takes to make a good one, and so he turned that on in me. He showed me what was a good film, what was a bad film, and why.
Oh,
what was a good director, what a bad director was, actor, etc.
I love that you still call him a writer, producer, director, film guy, but you have no evidence of anything. But it's still stuck with you. The myth still holds tight in your head.
He drilled it home for me.
He made one movie. You don't know what that is.
It is true. It's true.
You just kind of keep paying. You just keep saying it. Oh, my father was.
You keep saying it. It's like Fox News. You just keep
repeating it.
Just spit it out enough times.
So he made you watch like what? What were like? He sat you down.
Anything that was playing at the New Art, which is an art house here in L.A. Yeah,
you'd go see it.
We'd go see stuff that had most of them had subtitles. It was just after I started to learn how to read. So I'm surprised it didn't kill movies for me. But
do you remember anything from that time where you're like, holy shit?
I remember what was the Fitzcarraldo. Do you remember that?
Oh
film?
yeah, the Herzog movie.
Right. And what was the guy? The
Klaus Kinski?
Yeah. Wasn't there a scene where he was I burned into my head. I think either he or one of the actors was having sex with a woman at the base of a tree. And he was in a squatted position, and she was in a seated position on his squatted body with his back against a tree. And that takes some balance. He's got the bag, he's got the tree for the support, right? And then he just needs to move up and down, which I would imagine that's hurting your back. I would imagine. I'm thinking that through. But anyway, that to me was like the most. I couldn't believe how terrible that was. That just scarred me. So I do remember Fitzcarraldo.
My grandparents took me to see Deliverance by accident.
Oh yeah,
when it came out, so I wasn't even 10.
Well, I was surprised to see the release date on Jaws the other day was 75, and I was 6. And I remember seeing that in a movie theater. You can't take a 6-year-old to Jaws, because I wonder where my fear of sharks comes from.
I can't swim in a pool at night.
Uh-oh.
I don't know what's under
there.
We
got to talk afterwards.
It fucked me up.
To explain what a pool.
I know it's not logical. It's not rational. But I think I had this conversation with my girlfriend the other day. A lot of people forget that, Betamax, like videotapes were introduced at a certain point. So like the memory of Jaws, like she thought it was her childhood, but it was 10 years before. It was because videotapes. Everyone saw, remember when videotapes first came out? You saw everything again.
You saw everything
But you
again,
saw it in the theater, you're pretty sure.
I'm positive I remember the movie theater. So he got me into acting, got me excited about it, and then a neighbor of ours was an actor. He took me to an audition. I ended up sneaking into that audition for the kid part, and I got that part, so I thought I was good. Then I had my dad take some pictures of me and send them into an agency so I could start doing commercials and selling burgers and stuff, and that worked for about a year, and then they send you out for TV shows after you do a few
Oh, right.
commercials.
So your agent was like, he's hot. We got one.
Yeah, exactly. This
Right.
guy can smile.
Right.
So, so then I started doing TV comedies like Silver Spoons and It's Your Move, or actually, Little House on the Prairie was the first thing that I did, which was a very special drama.
Yeah.
It was a 1-hour drama.
Yeah, I remember that one. Michael Landon. And you
he
did a
was-
lot of those?
I did a year of that.
Really?
The final year before they all went away.
So you were a kid?
Yeah,
You were
I
one
was
of the kids?
adopted into the Landon the Ingalls family.
You showed up. Were you like an abandoned kid?
I was a kid. The storyline of this very special two-parter that ended the one season and triggered the season that I was in with a little sister. What was her name? Missy Francis played my sister Cassandra. I was James, and the story was we were in a stagecoach with my parents and. They had like a sick horse or something, and so Charles Ingalls, Michael Landon's riding by in his stagecoach, and they say, "Hey, could we get a lift or a pull or a tug or whatever the hell it is?" And he says, "Sure, but maybe the kid should ride with me." So me and the girl get in the back of Landon's stagecoach, and we start going down this steep hill, and of course the brakes go out in our parents' stagecoach, and there's this terrible scene that's really viscerally shot of their stagecoach going over the edge of this mountain.
With them in it.
Just terrible barrel rolls down the side of this hill. And my sister and I, running, screaming, walking up, dramatically into cameras. The camera's dolling towards us, and we kind of meet in this hard close-up of us just screaming, crying, "Mama, no, Papa, no." And then, turning to Michael Landon, well, what now? And then a push in on him, I guess I'm going to have to adopt you too, was kind of the shot.
I guess.
Right? And then that's what happens. We get adopted into the family.
So he fucked up on the toe?
And he gave an improper tug, which will get you in trouble at jasonbateman.com.
So that was it. So you cried?
I cried well. I remember auditioning for Michael Landon in his dressing room while he was shooting an episode, and we read a scene together. I mean, it took me into his dressing room. It was just the two of us, shutting the door behind him like a trailer, on a set.
He's a big dude too, right?
Big dude, and I'm a small little 10-year-old, and that was a little scary. And I just had to basically he said, lay down on the bed.
Yeah.
Because we're going to play a scene where I'm tucking you into bed, and these are the sides where you need to cry, and you say, I don't want to go to that adoption agency tomorrow. And the crying and the drama of that needs to kind of trigger in him this desire. Well, fuck it, I'll just adopt these kids. So, and I cried.
You did it
at 10. And can you make yourself cry?
Not really.
It's a hard thing to do. I don't know how
think maybe I
actors
could.
do it so easily. I've come up with this terrible method of. Now with iPhones, which I didn't have back then, I don't know how I did it then, but I'll just look at pictures of my daughters and imagine terrible, like going over a mountain in a stagecoach. And that'll make me start to cry a little bit, and I have to time that out with, guessing when they're going to call me ready for the scene.
You ready? And then you're like, hold on.
No, that's what I do. I walk onto the set and I'm looking at they think I'm checking my email. Look at this dick actor walking onto this really important scene, and he can't get off his fucking iPhone.
Well, I just saw the trailer for The Gift, and it looks like you're really broke down.
I did that a ton of times in that movie. All those tears are because I have fresh in my mind my daughter going into a blender. With some song in my head, while I'm looking at it.
That's hilarious. But when you were 10, you just summoned it.
Yeah, I probably just pinched my leg hard or something.
Really? You don't remember? Because it is kind of hard.
It's hard.
And you didn't take any acting classes or anything?
My dad taught a little improv. Hey, man.
Where did he teach improv?
He's got to make some scratch.
Sure, buddy.
He taught improv on Ventura and Woodman.
Yeah. This is way before the improv craze.
This is way before the improv craze.
Yeah.
He was ahead of it.
So
but it was very beneficial.
Who took those classes?
Nobody of any sort of.
Oh, my God. So your dad's teaching improv. Your dad, the filmmaker. You got to add that to the list of things.
Acting coach.
Acting coach, improv teacher. Mm-hmm. What was it? Did he know what he was doing?
He did. He actually did teach me everything I know. To be honest, he started me with sort of this proper perspective on what this bullshit thing is of acting.
Like what? Give me, because no one's ever really been able to tell me. Like what do you remember?
I mean, I'm sure that I've morphed this into my own kind of thing, but basically the way I see it now is that it's really not to belittle what the real actors do,
Right.
the Daniel Day-Lewises of the world. But it's the easiest thing to do in the world because we all do it. Like, you're doing it right now.
Yeah.
I'm doing it right now.
I should be crying.
But like, you know how you're different with,
Sure.
your mom
Right.
versus your best friend.
Right.
It's just behavioral manipulation in order to fit the person that you're talking
Right.
to, in order to convince them that you are genuinely interested, or if you really are interested, you might goose it a little bit to get them to tell me more about that story.
Right.
Or it's just being
Engaged.
yeah, and everybody has a keen sense of the way in which they come across.
Right.
And that's all acting is. Unless you're morphing into a character that's completely outside of your goalposts.
Have you
like
tried to
a
do
Daniel
that?
Day-Lewis. Yeah, when I was a kid and I look at that stuff, and there's just a lot of acting going on.
Yeah.
And I'm a little cynical about that. And I'm not saying that acting and playing these, eccentric parts is a bad thing, but for my own taste, for some reason, I've become a little cynical about that. And
For yourself.
yeah, and I don't, or even as a moviegoer,
Right.
I don't like to see a lot of acting. I really appreciate it when actors or actresses are somehow funneling whatever character's written on a page into their abilities, a part of themselves.
Who they are, yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and of course you want to put that, at one end or the other to make it interesting, because you don't want to just kind of just sleepwalk through it.
Right.
But it should still be inside your skill set so that you don't have to get outside of it and therefore start acting.
Right. So knowing your limitations as an actor is important, and knowing
Yeah.
who you are and what you can do.
Yeah, and if you're kind of fucked up and you've got multiple personalities, it's helpful. It's
beneficial.
Yeah.
Do you?
I'm sure. Yeah. Well, because look, if you start acting at an age before you really know who you are, which
Yeah.
is like 10,
Right.
until 18, you're developing as convincing as possible parts of yourself that have just as much right and square footage as the part that may one day actually become who you are.
Right,
So you're
yeah.
kind of developing schizophrenia. These racehorses are running at the same speed.
Sure, especially
no
if you
one's
do
taken the lead yet.
like 20 episodes or something. I mean, how many of those little houses did you do?
That was a full season, so that was
23?
22.
22 or 23?
Yeah. And 22 plus a very special two-parter, Mark.
So after that, you felt like, I'm going. This is it. It's happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, I wasn't that deliberate with, here's my career plan, but
Was your dad?
yeah, he became my manager. Mom became our manager. My sister started acting a few years after that, and there's a somewhat of a necessity to that, in that you need a babysitter. Literally, you need a legal guardian on the set,
Right.
And so you can either hire one that's over 18,
Yeah.
effectively a babysitter. Or if your parents have flexible hours, like Mom did, where she's only flying 2 weeks every 4.
Yeah.
And Dad, who's pumping out, Citizen Kane in the basement, and he can do that on the set.
Sure.
I guess
as well as he could do it in the basement.
Right. So why not collect 15% while
Yeah.
you're doing it?
He was down there working on that movie.
Yeah, the ethics of it in hindsight are a bit troubling, but I'm still looking at it half full.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you do the Silver Spoons, which I didn't watch it.
That was the Ricky Schroeder vehicle.
Oh, yeah. I think I
and
was still a little old for it.
yeah.
Like, I graduated high school in 81, so I was on to other things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was the big one for you. The first.
That was a really good one, and then that got me my own show, which didn't last a year.
Which one was that?
That was called It's Your Move.
Yeah.
And then after that was the Hogan Family, which lasted 5 years. That was the Valerie Harper vehicle that
you
became the
worked with
Sandy
Valerie
Duncan
Harper?
vehicle.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You worked with both of them?
Yep.
They were great.
I loved them, but Valerie pissed off the brass, and then she got burned in a very special two-parter in a house fire. And for some reason they went ahead and shot the episode where I ride my moped up to
The burning house.
up to the burning house,
And she's your mom?
and the firemen are, son, do we have an accident up here? You can't. But that's my house, sir. And ripping through the police tape and running into the house, and it's just so cheesy and bad where you
But
go all the
between-
way upstairs like and literally grab a photo of me and Mom together and you pick up the photo and it crumbles into ashes into your hand. I mean, it's like,
Oh, my
they
God.
checked all the boxes.
You went through a lot of shit as a young actor. I mean, you had to watch your parents go over the cliff in a
I was
stagecoach.
I was a faucet of tears
then just
with no crying talent whatsoever.
A fire. God, now they just sort of replace people, and people are so stupid. They're like, "We get it.
You're right.
You know, that actor's gone. We
Yeah.
saw it on Entertainment Tonight."
Let's jump 6 months.
Yeah. There's no reason for closure or explanation now.
None.
No, they really had to hammer it in.
Yeah.
And so Sandy Duncan shows up as the
Almost
new mom.
Sandy Dennis. Sandy Duncan shows up as the sister to Dad, and she's just like one of my favorite people in the world.
Is she still around?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So after the Hogan family thing, what happens?
After the Hogan family, things got quiet because there was that transition thing you're talking about where, well, if you're like a teen actor or whatever, what are you at 20? You
Right.
know?
And how'd you ride that out?
I didn't. I mean, I took the opportunity. I mean, I tried to keep working, but when things were quiet, I took the opportunity to party and catch up for all the working I did as a kid.
Hollywood party style?
Yes and no. I mean, I'd go to all the, the cheesy clubs and, do all the drinking and the drugging and all the sort of that kind of living for about 10 years.
Yeah.
And then luckily for me, when I'd kind of caught up, and wanted to have a career again, Arrested Development was the thing that came kind of right around that time. And it,
Well, how many years was that, dude?
which?
Like that break?
Like 10 years. Yeah, it was a long time. That was at the beginning of your question, when we first started talking, that was a tough period, like, is the rest of my life going to be anticlimactic? Like, there was a time where I thought, well, should I just liquidate what little I do have left and start over somewhere else? Literally go down to the airport and just look up on the ticker board and with a duffel bag full of,
Right.
dollar bills.
So that was it. So that in your mind, that was the choice. It's like, I'm washed up. It's time to disappear.
Yeah. Or before I really kind of get sucked into this depression of the only thing on TV is Entertainment Tonight and I'm not on it.
Right.
Why don't I go and, buy a coffee shop in fucking Spain.
Sure.
And learn Spanish and, I'm 20, that's where people are getting out of college. They're starting their lives.
Right.
So
You
I
can
can
still do
that.
it.
Right. And
Yeah.
I don't have a wife. I don't have kids. I, got this, distant relationship with my parents and my sister's like, I'm untethered.
I'm out.
Let me go.
And I got a little maybe. Did you think how many people are going to know me over there? That was always I always wondered about that weird thing where you get to a certain point in show business and you really can't stop just out of pride, because what are you going to do? You're going to work at a stereo place and people are going to walk in and go like, hey.
Yeah. And pride gets in the way of a lot of really good decisions in general, right? That being one of them. Like, how do you rebuild? And I've got a lot of friends that did not make great decisions with that, and screw it. If I can't get this job, then I won't work at all. And I'll just party all night and sleep all day because there's no reason to wake up.
And they're still at it?
I think so. I think a couple of them are, and it's it's sad. This is a tough town to
Tough business.
It's a tough business, and the town is a lot of the business. And if you're on the fringes of relevance and access, it can be really challenging.
You felt.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable sometimes just to socialize because you do feel that pressure of Hey, what are you doing? Oh, not much. And it's well, and it's a benign sort of just question,
but it's so loaded
it comes
to you.
Loaded, and it's I feel for people because all of those people are filled with talent. They just don't have.
Right.
Everyone's a job away. For me, it was Arrested Development. Like, I didn't take a talent pill the morning I went in and read for Arrested Development.
Well, how much were you partying?
I was partying a lot, but I was still making it to the few auditions that I was getting.
And you were doing little parts here and there?
Yeah. I was still definitely a working actor.
Right.
I wasn't, living on the streets. I was still, I had a house and a car and it was, things were good. I was a working actor for sure. But, this was definitely on the backside of a bit of a fame peak that was around when I was 19 or something.
And your sister was huge.
Yeah, Justine was big.
Right? That show was big.
Yeah, Family Ties was enormous. And
was there times where she was huge and you weren't?
Yeah, that was all the time.
Yeah.
But for some reason, the jealousy or competitiveness never really flared up between us.
Yeah.
Probably mostly because we weren't reading for the same parts. But,
Right.
there was maybe just sort of this unsubstantiated blind confidence and ego that I had that don't worry about it, I'll be back.
Cocaine will do that.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I kept doing it.
Yeah. Keep that confidence going.
Yeah.
The sweaty confidence.
Yeah. It disappeared when the sun comes up.
That's right. And you talked yourself out with some dude who spend 9 hours talking about his new car.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Had it all figured out.
Oh, yeah. Again.
From 2 to 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
We had it all. We had all the answers.
Yeah. See you
we even
later,
wrote
man.
them down.
Yeah.
You ever wake up to those? Oh, quick, tear them up.
The screenplay idea?
Yeah. Dude, let's just workshop this a little bit more. Let me get one more of those, and then we're going to get into Act 2. Oh, that's if you're not playing Scrabble.
That's right. Is there any more booze? Do we have anything?
Call his pager again.
Yeah. Oh, no.
That's how long it's been. I was saying to somebody the other day, last time I scored any cocaine, there were still pagers and payphones.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that was you see a payphone now, it's like some weird relic from the past. Like, who uses those?
Yeah.
Oh,
we should
yeah.
try to buy that.
Yeah.
Put it on our living room.
Yeah. Oh, pagers. Waiting for the guy.
Yeah.
Oh, is the guy coming? Worst. But it's
I'm
been
getting
a
all
while.
gassy just talking
I
about
know.
this.
I don't crave that one anymore.
No, me neither.
It's just like it's done.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't really crave. I don't crave the booze, or I don't crave any of it anymore because I did it, and there was a little bit of the method to the madness there. That let's make sure I get all these boxes checked because I know I want to be a dad, I know I want to be a husband, and I know I want to have a career.
Yeah.
And so
You were aware of that?
Yeah, and I knew that I'm 46 now.
Yeah.
If I were to start scratching itches now.
it'd be a disaster.
It's not a good look.
Oh, it'd be a disaster.
Yeah.
So, you were practical enough to know what you do learn in the program. Whereas, dude, once you start, there's no ending. There's no, if you're in it,
Right.
it's never going to be satisfied. So
for me, it was. For me, I did get it out of my system, or at least the curiosity was answered,
Right.
so that I'm not susceptible to any sort of. Well, I never did that. Let me try that.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
meanwhile, I got to drop my kids off at school. It's not good.
and I imagine you saw friends go down.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
everyone, in this business, you see people go down. You're like, ugh.
Yeah, and people. I've said this before, but it's pretty apt. The things that allow you to feel good about yourself are pretty. They're slippery.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
it's got to be locked up inside.
And also, not unlike you were talking about limitations and knowing what your talent's limitations are when you have it and being responsible that way as a professional. You also have to realize those things, some things, you live with discomfort.
Yeah.
And that's grown up.
Right.
You don't get to be like a child, help me. I need something to make me feel better. It's like, no, sometimes it's just uncomfortable.
Right. Yeah. I was trying to. You said it very well. I didn't say it half as well to my 8-year-old yesterday, but it was basically that thing. Just because you want it doesn't mean
Right.
that you can have it. That
Right.
doesn't mean life's not fair. That's just life, right? And your ability to navigate the things you don't get is kind of defines the quality of the life that you're going to have.
Your
If you're gonna
character.
be all petulant because you can't get everything,
Sure.
then you're just not being realistic.
That's a drug addict.
Right. Yeah. So my job as a parent is to let you know it ain't all going to work out, and that's normal.
Yeah, you got
Yeah. Right.
Right,
That's
right.
not a. That doesn't signify the thing that you're a failure.
Right.
You're just normal.
Did you tell it her like that?
No. Okay. Can
I
I get a
wouldn't tell
copy
her.
of this? I need to run that for her.
It's just sort of like, give up your dreams. You're 8. There's no reason to think things are going to work out for you.
Right. Or just temper your expectations.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
I want you to shoot for the stars, but know that the moon's okay.
Yeah. No, that's
God,
true.
that's good too.
It is.
Yeah. Do you have a pen?
Sure. But I'll send you the thing. It's very tricky, because especially when in this business where I can't, when you go into auditions or something and you're in the casting office, usually a temporary one of the temporary casting offices, and you just see stacks of hundreds of headshots.
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
I know.
It's like, because it's such a childish dream. It's like, I'm going to be a movie star. It's like the whole drive of this business on that side of the camera is it's infantile.
Yeah, and you know, and they tell you to really follow your dreams and be passionate, yet that is counterproductive, because if you go in there with a whole lot of passion, they can smell it, and then they're not giving it to you.
Well, it's a fine line between passion and desperation, though.
Right, but it's a guy that walks in there with a sexy indifference that gets it. And I don't know how you genuinely get that indifference without not really caring. And so how can you compete in something that takes full dedication if you kind of don't really care that much?
Right.
It's like that. It's a mindfuck cocktail that's a challenge for a lot of people that have not been at it for a while. And sometimes it's hard to stay at it long enough to kind of get that, because you'll be broke by the time you kind of get that.
Broke in a lot of ways. Broken and broke.
Yes. Yeah. That's why it's keep your day job.
Oh, God damn it. This is great. This is uplifting. This is going to be helpful to young actors.
Oh my God.
Get out.
You can hear
is
the
message.
gunshots going off now.
Get out. So Arrested Development was like a lifesaver.
Yeah.
But you didn't know that going in. Yeah. Wait.
No.
How did that audition happen? Because people love that fucking show.
Yeah, I had an agent named Lee Brolstein. She was at ICM, and we had just parted ways. And a couple of months later, to her credit, she called me and she said, you know, I'm seeing in this breakdown for this great pilot that I read that you haven't been in on it yet. And I know we don't work together anymore, but I think it's really great for you. You should go in on it. You should tell those new agents of yours to send you in. And so I asked my new agents about it, and they said, oh, yeah, you know what? The cover sheet on this thing says that if you're not interested in really kind of living in a bare bones environment with you know, shitty, there's really no dressing rooms, no makeup, no lights, no marks on the floor. It's kind of a documentary style kind of. Then
they were downplaying it.
Yeah, and it was very sort of progressive and provocative, I suppose. And so they just didn't think that it was going to get picked up. It was very, very risky. And so why send it to you? That was their spin on it. And I said, you know what, send it to me anyway. So
at this point, you'd done some movies, though. You were still...
Yeah, a little bit here and there, but I had some baggage on me as being...
Teen Wolf baggage?
Yes, some of that hair was still on me. And a lot of the sitcom kind of stink was on me. And this was not that. This was, not only had television comedy had moved into single camera, and away from that studio audience multi-camera stuff, but this was even a step beyond that, in that it was kind of this mockumentary style, and it was, you know, it was Ron Howard was the executive producer, and he was actually doing the voiceover on it, so it kind of had this great pedigree, and I thought, well, they don't want my baggage on this thing. And
like,
so
you were just like you thought they saw you as a hack?
Exactly. You
right.
know, I mean, that was my, this is my perception of myself after I'd wake up after, the Coke nights.
I'm just a childhood sitcom star. Teen Wolf killed me.
Exactly. So I didn't think I was going to get an audition for it, but luckily for me, the guy who created it, this guy Mitch Hurwitz,
good guy,
a great guy, right? Mm-hmm. So he remembered me from some audition I had with him years and years earlier.
You don't know for what?
It was for some multi-camera show for a pilot. I don't know, 5 or 6 years earlier.
So he was doing that.
That he liked what I did, and so he said, "Yeah, I'll read that guy. I think he's good." Which was lucky for me. And then another luck was that I guessed right when I went in there as far as how they wanted the character to get played.
Yeah.
And
what do you mean you guessed right?
Well, you can read a script, and there's no right or wrong way to play a character. It's just words on a page. So you got to go in there and have your take on it.
So you were sort of the one guy who had his shit together in the cast, in the way. You were the anchor.
My character was, yes. Yeah. And but the way in which I played that was a guy who was didn't hate his family, but was kind of frustrated by his family, and that there was a seething and a comedic boiling that was perhaps, I guess, is what they saw, and so he followed me out of the audition room after I read, and he said, hey, that was great. So tomorrow you have an audition for the other show that I'm executive producing, right? The one, I forget what it's called. And I said, yeah. He said, right. He said, but this, right? This one. I said, yeah, I love this. He goes, yeah. He said, don't come in for that one tomorrow. I said, okay. I said, why? He said, I don't want the network to see you. I want you for this one.
Because he loved that one.
Yeah. And like, this is just like, an actor's just wet dream for, to get good feedback in the room, but for the guy to actually follow you out and then say, don't come in for the other one tomorrow because I want to protect you. So I called my agent leaving there, and I said, I'm feeling very bullish about this. This could be good. And then, of course,
your old agent, the one that set you up,
no, it was the new one.
Okay.
And then once I got the job, I called and thanked the old one. And when I won the Golden Globe, I thanked her on the stage.
Oh yeah,
first and foremost, I was like,
sweet.
This is
So
then the show got picked up, and we were waiting for us to get axed, any day, because it wasn't getting great ratings, and but the critics really saved it. The critics put a lot of pressure on the network to keep it on because they were saying this is great, and you, Fox, would be dumb to cancel it. So they hated us, they hated the critics, and they kept us on as long as.
How many seasons? 6?
Just no, 2.5.
Oh, that was it.
Yeah.
Wow. And then you did the new ones.
Yeah, the new ones were these episodes on Netflix that were meant to be the first act of a 3-act story that Mitch had in his head.
Right.
And the second 2 acts, the Act 2 and Act 3, are still yet to be told. And he thought that it would be fun to do the first act in some episodes. So that's what that was, yet Netflix called it Season 4.
Of the original show.
Yeah, which was a little disingenuous because it implied that the show was coming back and we did it and these guys are so and that's not what the show was, because each episode was about an individual character, and so I think it was a little confusing and underwhelming ultimately, frankly, for the audience. And so that was unfortunate that it wasn't branded, I think, honestly or correctly, I should say.
So was there a plan to do more?
There is no plan to do more. There is those remaining 2 acts that I don't know what format that they'll take,
right?
Or if it'll ever happen.
So Arrested Development pulled you out. It gave you a whole new cultural relevance. Yeah, because the people who hand out jobs were watching it. America wasn't watching it, but people here in L.A. were. And it erased your past in a way.
It did. Yeah, it hit the reset button, and I've been trying not to screw it up ever since.
Well, it's interesting, like you know, in how you're cast in movies, a lot of the comedies, like you're sort of
it's that guy.
You relied upon, give or take some assholeness.
Yeah. Well,
I think the Arrested Development guy had a lot of heart, but sometimes you get cast as just a full-on dick.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But ultimately, he usually is us. He is the audience.
Right.
He's the center. He's the protagonist. And I really like that role because it's a vital part for the comedy that I like to have, because things need to be grounded. It needs to be relatable and tangible.
Sure.
And you need a proxy as an audience.
And you got sort of in with the that crew who, the comedy crew, like Vince Vaughn and those guys. And
they invited me in for a couple of their parties. That was nice of them.
It's funny
because that helped validate me as well.
And now, and also, it's. I never really thought that there were these camps, but there's definitely movie comedy camps. There was the Stiller, the Apatow, and then the Vaughn crew, and those guys. Like, there's definitely the guys who make the big comedies. Yeah,
and it is a bit insular. They do stick with one another, and you're lucky to be a part of any of them.
Yeah. Well, you're steady, man. You're a rock with the thing you do. You know what I mean?
Thanks, man.
It's good, right?
I love it. Yeah.
And now you're doing like this. The new movie seems crazy. Like I watched. It's not a comedy.
The thriller, The Gift. It's
I watched the trailer and I'm like, holy fuck.
Yeah, it's a Joel Edgerton, who's an actor I just really admire a lot, not only for his talent, but he's just cool as shit.
He's the guy who plays the bad guy or the scary guy.
Yeah.
Oh, it's his thing, huh?
Yeah. So this is his first film as a director, and I had just finished doing my first film as a director.
Which one was that?
It's called Bad Words, and he asked me to be in this, and I thought, well, I so appreciate how important it is to have a game actor trying to help make things work.
Right.
when you're trying to direct something and act in something.
Right, it's hard, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just you're really appreciative of people that are there and there willingly and trying to be proactive. So I said yes immediately, and I'm glad I did, because he did a really, really good job with the movie. It doesn't need to be as good as it is, because it plays a little bit in that genre world that as long as you scare somebody, they're going to be satisfied.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of sort of, sorry for the word, but some sophisticated execution here with the way in which it's shot and scored and edited, and he did a really, really tasteful job.
Well, it's nice that you guys are supportive of each other, and
Yeah.
that you get, as a director. You've done a lot of directing, though. You've done some TV, right? And
I started doing TV when I was 18, and I just finished doing my second film as a director a couple of months ago.
what's that about? I didn't see Bad Words. I'm sorry.
That's fine. Not many did. It was
you
a
like
small
it?
movie. And, yeah, loved it. I loved it.
I gotta watch it.
I think you'd like it. It's about this asshole that I play who crashes a kid's spelling bee. He finds a loophole in the rules, and it's a hard R, and he's it's fun.
And you wrote it?
No.
You just directed it?
Yeah.
Is that is that how you want to go out? In
Yeah,
a way?
I mean, look, we were talking about before about you put X number of years in something, you'd like to either have job security, promotion, or raise, all three,
Right.
or maybe even a job that is more challenging than that which you started in.
Sure.
Because of your exposure to the apparatus, and you kind of know how to do other people's jobs, or familiar with them, or would like to challenge yourself to do those. And for an actor, it's directing.
Yeah.
And it's a really complicated thing to do, to shape an audience's experience,
Yeah.
beyond just kind of the acting part.
Right.
As a director,
Yeah.
you kind of have to play with multiple departments and kind of four-wall it for people.
And you got to trust your DP. And
Yeah.
you got to have people like it's a collaborative thing.
Yeah, you got to delegate, but you also have to lead with a certain amount of specificity. Where that when you delegate, it's a safe delegation.
Right. It's not like, I'm not sure what the look is.
Right.
Can you give me some options?
Yeah, you gotta inspire them in some sort of specific world. And
It's my first time doing this. Can we all
Right.
just
Can you guys put some cool shit together and put it on my desk? Because a lot of directors do it that way, and
Yeah.
you can. You can just basically say yes or no to the results of other people's work.
Right.
You can get it done that
Sure.
way, but you need a long schedule for that.
And what's the new one about? Is it another small movie?
It's another small movie. It's more of a drama. It's about I play Nicole Kidman and I play brother sister, and we're looking for our parents that have gone missing, and we're not sure whether they're murdered or whether they're hiding as part of their latest performance art piece. They're these old hippie performance artists, and we think they might be faking their death.
Who wrote this?
It was a New York Times book that was then adapted by this Pulitzer Prize winning writer David Lindsay Hebert. That Nicole Kidman had it, and she had him adapt the book, and it's a really, really cool, trippy script that I read and made a run at, and then she saw Bad Words and said, "Great, let's go."
Wow.
Yeah,
It sounds cool.
It's great. Chris Walken plays our dad.
Oh, man.
And he's just perfect for a guy that would be an irresponsibly passionate performance artest.
It sounds like this might be kind of close to home in a way.
You've been listening. Mark, you have those cans are working. Yeah, it's there's a lot that I was passionate about in the movie. Yeah. I mean, my parents aren't nearly as bad as this,
right?
Nor am I, and nor is Nicole. But you got to heighten things a little bit to entertain people.
Well, it'd be great to see Walken in a non-ironic part. It's been a long time since he wasn't sort of hired because he's this character,
right? And he said as much. I don't think I'm talking out of school for me to say that he doesn't want to be the crazy uncle,
right?
I think he recognizes the fact that he is an eccentric guy that has a very unique style.
Yeah.
That lends itself to some very interesting and colorful characters.
Right.
But he doesn't want to just be known or pursued for that.
Right.
Yeah, and have scripts manipulated. Oh, we got Chris Walken. Well, let's do a rewrite. Let's make it really fucking crazy. He's sensitive to that, and I think that's good of him.
And how'd he do?
He's amazing. Yeah, he doesn't do anything the way any other actor would do it.
Right.
And it's not just contrived. I mean,
Right.
he just has a different rhythm.
Yeah.
And it's genuine. He really just hears things differently, and will shape it in a way where it's like, well, yeah, that's the way you'd say that line. Well, if you're that guy.
It's amazing because, like, if you watch him even in the bit part in Annie Hall, and then you watch him in Deer Hunter, that there was a sensitivity in Deer Hunter. The sensitivity of that character, I mean, it's mind blowing.
It's authentic, right? So, like, if you were to take that through in my theory of acting, then that would shortly take you to, well, Chris has got a very interesting makeup, right? Like his goalposts are pretty wide,
right?
There's a lot there.
Right.
He's a really interesting guy, really kind, thoughtful, professional, fair guy that is not simple.
Yeah.
It's in the best way.
Right. It's like watching, when was the last time you watched, like, Dog Day Afternoon?
Sure, yeah.
Like these guys when they were young and they're wide open and all sweet and sensitive and, like, really putting it out there.
Right.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's got to be a part of them. Like, you can't
it's all
just
in there.
pretend that.
That's right.
And they're being it's an overused word, I apologize for it, but they're being very generous, right?
Right.
Like, to me, Joaquin Phoenix does that nowadays. That guy just lets you see right through every part of him. In an effort to be genuine. And
Are you
be
friends
authentic.
with him?
Yeah.
Did you come up with him, or you're a little older?
Well, no. I mean, I knew River a little bit. River and I worked together a couple of times. And Joaquin's his younger brother. I knew him a little bit via that. But I know him more now just through another mutual friend.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And who played your mom? Who plays your mom in this thing?
Her name's Marianne Plunkett. She's a Tony Award-winning actress and just really tasteful and.
Did you feel intimidated to be working with?
Sure, yeah.
Walken and Kim, but so you're directing too.
Yeah.
And you got to act alongside Nicole, who can kind of,
she knows what she's doing too. Yeah. So, but, my style of directing, if I have one, is just, figure out what an actor's trying to do with their, it's their prerogative to play the character any way they want. I truly think. I think an actor, if you're going to contribute, you read the part and then you kind of make him or her who you want her to be, as long as you're in the same movie as everyone else.
Right.
We have a mutually agreed upon finish line for the movie or for the scene or whatever, and how you get there is up to you. That's your artistic contribution. So the directors I really like are those that recognize what it is you're going for and help you kind of stay there and not drop the ball, as opposed to trying to give you notes that get you closer to doing it the way they've always imagined it.
Micromanage?
But control you into playing the character the way they've always seen it and heard it.
Right.
Because, a director's been with the script a lot longer than you have.
Right.
They probably developed a portion of the script. They then were in pre-production. It's informed a lot of their decisions, how that character would kind of behave.
Right, sure.
And then you show up on the first day and you're playing the character in a completely different way. That's frightening for a director. And
because now they're like, now we got a problem.
Well, yeah, but it's a false negative.
Right.
Because the audience, we're watching the movie. We haven't read the script.
Right.
We have no preconceived notion. So I'll go wherever you're going to take me, actor, as long as you don't drop me.
Right.
It's a tough thing to ask a director to do, because you're asking them to give up control, and part of their job is to keep things on the rails.
Yeah.
So it is somewhat of an actor's obligation to make a case for taking things a different way, and I'm sensitive to that. So I'm not just obstinate with it, like, fuck you, I'm going to play it the way I want to play it. If they're uncomfortable with it, you do kind of have to
negotiate, collaborate.
Yeah.
So how far along is that film?
We're done.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Now, as a director, that means you got to, you oversee like the soundtrack and everything. And so
it's so cool. That's really, editing it is a lot of fun, and you can kind of unfuck things if something's really
amazing
kind of
what
wobbly.
you can do in editing, huh?
Yeah. And then you can augment things. You can support things. You can juxtapose things, and then you put the music on it. And now the music can really help support something that maybe wasn't delivered on the day.
I never knew that until I did the TV show. Like how I directed a couple episodes of my show.
Yeah.
And it's just weird. And when you're acting in it, like when you've got a bunch of takes, I mean, you can be in editing and you see what you prioritize, but then in the back of your head, it's like, didn't we do one?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden that one that was garbage in your mind, it saves the fucking thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, because now you've mixed a new cocktail. Now
Right.
I'm actually, I don't really like what that actor's doing, so I'm gonna have the camera on the guy that's listening.
Right.
So now when I come back into this guy's take, I might actually like that piece that he did because
Right.
it now works in this new recipe.
It's exciting.
Yeah, but it's a lot of work.
Well,
It's
I'm happy
more
for you.
work than the shooting, right? The
But I'm
cutting
happy
takes
for you.
longer.
It sounds like it's engaging. It's a
I
big-
love it. Yeah.
Now,
very lucky to
you
be
don't
doing
do
it.
any writing?
Mm-mm.
You don't have any desire
I mean,
to do that?
I did a little bit when I was a lot younger and desperate, frankly. I mean, I was
Right.
trying to write my way back in.
Movies or TV?
Yeah, I wrote a script, and no one's ever going to see it because it's garbage. But it was good for me to go through the process.
I'd like to know what that script's about.
It's the concept's not bad, but it's garbage. But the process of trying to fill a blank page is
Oh, you got to give me the story, Jason.
it's really daunting. Right?
You got to give me the story. What's the movie?
The
What's
concept?
the movie about?
It's just another one of those kind of like that Albert Brooks Defending Your Life.
Yeah.
It's one along those sort of lines.
okay.
One of those
Right.
existential
Sure.
sort of like
You die
hey,
for a minute and-
yeah, if I could do it all over that garbage.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. How old were you when you wrote that?
21 maybe. Yeah. Just when you know zero.
Oh,
and everything just
when was the
sounds
last-
so good.
When was the last time you took a look at that script?
I don't know. I don't know if I ever. I will when I'm super brave. But there's so many precious. With a storyline like that, there's inevitably a half dozen, if not a dozen, scenes where there's some really important shit said.
Yeah.
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 And it's just, it'll just.
The arrogance of it, just as youthful.
It's so
sort of-
precious, yeah.
Oh God, it's great.
But what it did for me was I'll never forget how difficult that is.
Right. So what it did for you is like, I'm not doing this.
Or I just really respect
Right.
what a writer goes through. I
Yeah.
mean, you literally need to stare at a wall.
Yeah.
And
horrible.
get yourself really quiet.
And eat a lot of bad food.
Yeah.
And just like pace around.
The discipline is insane.
So when you do a movie like, was it the Rotten Bosses movie?
The Horrible Bosses.
Horrible
yeah.
Bosses. So
Yeah.
you now, like, how does that work?
Rotten
Now-
Bosses didn't clear.
Oh, it didn't.
No.
Horrible Bosses, right?
Yes, sir.
The second one.
There was two.
Yeah. And the first one's funny. I didn't
First
see
one's funny. First
how
one
the
did
second
some
one
money.
did.
Second one was garbage as far as box office goes. Who knows whether it was on the merits or when they released it, but it did not do any money.
But when you get an offer like that, you know what the score is. You're like,
Oh yeah, no, that's a paycheck for everyone. Yeah, everyone's getting paid. It's a freebie, and it's the audience's fault. Don't go out and buy a bunch of tickets for the first one unless you want a second one, because we don't have any discipline in this town. It's the path of least resistance.
But when you get offered something like that, there's no party that's sort of like, let me see the script. You're like, how much?
yeah, you don't want to be that guy.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, now in our defense, though,
Yeah.
the three, Charlie and Jason and I we're pretty cynical about this. I mean, we had this conversation like we're having right now.
Right.
Like, we can't just make it suck. I mean, everyone's going to know it's a layup.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
let's at least try to make it. Let's let it hold up to some cynical scrutiny. Let's make sure that it's plausible, perhaps, and that let's make sure we play our characters dumb enough to justify these shitty decisions.
Right,
and
right.
we tried to make sure it wasn't full of holes, and so we worked really hard on the story. And had a really good time shooting it.
You did.
Oh God, yeah.
But when you watch it, and like, it had a hell of a cast. I mean, they were really banking on something.
Yeah. Listen, I love both of them. I think they're both really,
Yeah.
really good. It's just a question of, did anybody really care?
Right. About the movie.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people saw the first one, but there are plenty of films that made a lot of money that no one is interested in seeing another one.
It's interesting when something like that tanks. I mean, does it come back to you at all?
It come back to me in the sense like that's a ding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it does in some respects, but you're somewhat insulated in that it's an ensemble, and
Sure,
and
it's right.
people
Hang it on Jamie. Hang it on Kevin. Hang it on.
I have to think that, well, hang on a second. Jason Bateman's in it. I'm not seeing that shit. I have to assume that I'm not the sole repellent.
Right.
I think it was, it had to have been basically, people just weren't interested in seeing another one.
Right.
We saw the first one. We had fun, but I don't need to go see a second one. And it's Thanksgiving, and I'm with my family, and I'm not going to take my mom and dad to go see, cock jokes.
Yeah. For 2 hours.
I guess there is a reason R-rated comedies don't get released during a big family vacation.
Sure. But you had a good time making it.
I did.
Well,
because we shot it here.
Oh, yeah. So it was easy. You got to
rare.
hang out with your family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the family's good. You're happy.
I could not be happier. I'm very, very lucky. Knocking on the wood.
Well, I'm happy for you. It's a hell of a story, and that movie you just directed sounds great. What's it called?
Family Fang.
And
sounds like a dog movie, but it's that was.
When's
the
it
name of the
release?
book. We don't know. We're going to sell it in the next couple of months.
Great, and the gift looks compelling.
Yeah, that's a great movie. It's I think people will really, really dig that. I mean, no one bleeds in it, so don't go in thinking, oh, great, it's a horror film, slasher film. It would underwhelm that sort of drive.
But it's got that menace. The trailer seems menacing.
It's very suspenseful, and it's a thriller, and you will be scared, but it's not a slasher film.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it was great talking to you.
You too, man. I'm really glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
It was great talk. Thanks, man. That was fun. Was that fun? It was fun. Jason Bateman's fun. I like him. Good dude. I appreciate him coming down. I appreciate you listening. Go to WTFpod.com for all your WTF pod needs. Get on the mailing list. Get a little merch if you like the posters. The books are gone, but the posters are there. Get some justcoffee.coop while you're there. You can see the episode guide is helpful if you're new to the show. WTFpod.com/guide. That's everyone who's been on. What else? Australia, I'm coming. Sydney on Thursday, October 15th at the State Theatre. Melbourne on Friday, October 16th at the Palace. Brisbane, Saturday, October 17th at City Hall. Tickets are on sale starting tomorrow, August 7th. Go to ticketmaster.com.au. I didn't even prepare to play guitar. I'm not even prepared. Hold on.